I'm Dustin, Prince of Aphotic Realm, and this is Bo, my indie author friend.
Fabulous powers will be revealed to you the day we hold aloft our mics and say,
I have the geekdom!
Geek-Men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. Thunder Nerds! Ho!
Welcome to another episode of Geek-Men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I'm Dustin.
I am Bo.
And this is the podcast that talks about all the things you love.
Without all the hate.
That's right. It's great to be here. We are very excited. We have a very special guest. And we've already been chatting. We got so carried away chatting that we had to stop. And but you're not going to know this because Editor Bo is going to fix all this. But we've already been chatting, having a great time. So right now, we're going to jump right into conversation. Bo, tell us who we have here.
I believe a man of multi-talent, stage, screen,
really,
audio.
No,
everything. He's done everything.
By
Mr.
golly.
Graham Rowat.
Woo!
That's me!
Yay!
Welcome.
I've done stuff. Thank you.
Done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And we can talk about some of that stuff, which there's no way you've not come across him.
Yeah.
Especially if you're listening to this show.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible.
It's possible, but
It's
come on,
possible, but we've
Chances are
probably at least talked.
maybe without them knowing.
Yeah,
Right?
inadvertently.
yeah,
Right.
because that's usually how it works.
Mhm.
But
When people are safe in their homes and they're not even looking, I creep up behind them, and they feel my breath on the back of their necks, and then they turn around and there's no one there. That's typically how I do it.
and then the wind whispers, Graham.
That's right. And they go and they double check the locks on their windows.
Which is pointless.
Yeah, you can.
You'll be back whenever you feel like it.
Exactly. I'll let myself in. I'll let myself out. It's gonna be. It's special.
But yes, you've got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we'll go over all of it more.
Yeah.
So, but I recently,
Do you like podcasts?
podcasts,
Do you
Gray
like
Rooms.
podcasts? Yes.
But also recently you joined Madam Secretary, which is up for renewal, and great job on that. That was
Thank
really
you.
fun seeing you.
Yeah, that was fascinating because I have been in for this casting director before, and I've been in for the show once or twice, and quite often you know the casting director is just casting for a single episode. You need somebody who can come in and do 1 scene, 2 scene, 3 scenes, and usually I am at the point in my career where I will look and go, right, is it worth my time? And I don't mean that in an egotistical way, but is the work big enough that at the end of the day I'm going to walk away with decent material that I can say put on my reel, to show off my skills. So if it's just like 2 lines where you go, the bathroom's down the hall, sir, usually I won't go in for that kind of stuff. But what was intriguing about this is that it was most of these characters are going to be in the White House or in the State Department. That's not a surprise. But this one was actually the Secretary of Homeland Security, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. And they were pairing my character up with 2 other, a CDC executive and another can't remember who the other person was, but these are on paper. These characters are important in terms of the fiction of the world. So even though I still only ended up with sort of like with only 2 scenes, it's like this is it has potential, and I have no idea whether it should get picked up for another season. Whether some writer in the writers' room will go, "Hey, that guy was good. We should write another scene for him." I have no idea, but I guess just the possibility, I can sort of touch that little ember to my heart on a cold night and think maybe I will secure the homeland again.
Well, that was the whole point of me watching it. You really did get a sense like, okay, you've been pulled in. You've got this expertise in this section, and you throw your lines out with the utmost confidence.
Oh, but that's the other thing too, is because the bulk. I'm just as excited to see, because I'm still fascinated to get to either listen to my stuff or watch my stuff, because I judge other actors by listening to them and watching them, and I'm like, I don't think they're very good. I like them. They're great. Whatever. And the ability to put myself under the same scrutiny is always sort of nerve-wracking. And yet, if I can sort of make it past my own scrutiny and criticisms, and it's such a relief, because you're like, hey, that wasn't bad. I believe that. Okay, I don't suck. I didn't make a tremendous mistake in choosing this career. So I get just as much kick out of it when I watch it and believe it, and I was happy with how that turned out. There's another scene. I did a Law and Order SVU about. I think it aired last fall or maybe this spring, but I was just a guy being interviewed by the cops. I'd gone in for the audition because I'd never met this casting director, because they had a new casting director, and I got this part. It wasn't very much, but it was like, okay, well, I got it. I guess I'll do it. And I was called in before the show aired to record some. They just needed some background murmurs from me, because another person was being interviewed and I was 20 feet away in the background, and they're like, oh, we just want to have this just in case. And I went in and I saw myself. They played it back and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's not good. I actually was mortified. I did not pass my own scrutiny in that case.
Oh, really?
So then I was a little nervous, and I didn't tell anybody that was going to air. And when it came out, ultimately I didn't hate it, but they did take out the first maybe 6 words. The first thing that came out of my mouth, they sort of cut in halfway, and my face is in sort of like, let's say you start off your sentence with a neutral expression, and then halfway through you're like, but, and they cut in on me as my face is sort of doing this big sort of pop, and so the first thing I see is like, oh, bad acting right there.
Oh,
so anyway, you can see how my ego is always sitting on a knife edge every day.
No, I totally understand. I hate the sound of my voice, so I hate my face, so I don't look in mirrors.
I hate my face.
I don't look in mirrors, and I don't listen to my voice as little as possible. When Bo's like, "Hey, listen back to this episode. Let me know if it's anything, if you notice anything." I'm just like, oh, do I really have to? No, I do listen it back, but I don't necessarily. It's different when I listen back to this episode, because it's like, I don't know, listening to something else. But when it's just like me doing something, or like I don't know, a YouTube thing, or I did some stuff in high school in theater and stuff. But oh gosh, to see those old videos, it's just like I don't want to look at myself. I sound awful. I hate it. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, I actually have a thing where it's for me. It is more about I can listen to myself do a narration, or I can do act someone else's words. But if it is if someone is interviewing me like this, I can absolutely not listen to myself blather on like an idiot. I can't take it. But I can listen to myself do someone else's work, no problem. So for me, it's just because I know I'm a big dummy.
And now you got me tempted just to cut out me and Dustin, and so it's just you talking this whole time, responding to nobody.
It's also the number of times I say or or the number I can't say a full sentence without breaking it up with a stammer of some kind, and it drives me crazy.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
This was something
because I don't think before I speak.
Well, yeah. I have audio to prove that. I was recently watching a Rob Paulson interview the cast of Justice League.
Ooh,
oh.
And he had said that people of that generation of voice actors, none of them intended to be a voice actor. They didn't come out to be a voice actor. They came out to do stage, television, film, and they have inadvertently fallen into voice acting.
Right.
I was wanting to know if that was the same case with you, and what is it like looking at the current trend of people who are actively seeking becoming a voice actor, people who are more aware of how things work now?
That's a great question. Like Phil Lamar, you know Phil Lamar?
Yes.
Like for me, he will always be Mad TV. And now I could be wrong, but it seems like I only know of him doing voiceover. I mean, I feel like it's a little different in New York, in that, the stage, you can still make, if you want to do stage work, if you've reached a certain level in your career where you're lucky enough to get to do Broadway shows, you can make a living wage there. Out in LA, LA is such another entity. I don't understand it. I just am not familiar enough with how things work out there. But if I were to go out to LA, I definitely would be only going out there to do either trying to do film and TV and voiceover, but there's just no, like, you could have 7 Broadway shows on your resume, but you could go out to LA and they wouldn't mean a thing. Because Broadway doesn't mean anything out in LA. There might be 1 or 2 casting directors who are like, oh no, I'm a fan of Broadway, but most of them don't care. And in New York, there is a little bit of, there's a possibility, if you are the lead in a Broadway hit, that is going to get you into TV and film casting rooms in New York. So there is some crossover for potential there, but in LA, if you're going to go from New York to LA, you better have a lot of buzz about this great TV show or this great movie you did, because your stage resume is not going to do anything. And I feel like that wasn't really your question. It was more about sort of people wanting to be voice performers.
Oh, no, it's still interesting. I was still, continue. But it's just fascinating to see how that whole thing is, shifted.
Mm-hmm.
People are way more aware of how things work.
Well, and the bulk of voice work, to me, I could be wrong. I know that getting into the commercial voiceover world in New York has been very difficult when I was new to the city, and knocking on doors and trying to get people to listen to my commercial voiceover demo. And eventually I got work with an audiobook company, and that sort of scratched the itch for me, because I knew that everybody's got a voice, everybody can read words. So it's not unusual for everybody to think, oh, I could do voiceover, because they can. But for whatever reason, in my heart, I knew that I should be doing voiceover. And anyway, so I did the audiobook stuff for 8 or 9 years, and I still work with that company, and I still am trying to gain traction with commercial voiceover. It's still its own beast. But I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like the animated stuff, like animated voiceover and, any of the stuff that Mick Wingert does out in, so much of it is out in LA. The animation studios are out there. So if I was truly serious about that kind of stuff, I'd have to go there. Mm-hmm. But I have a booth. I moved out to New Jersey and finally had the space for my own studio and my own booth, and that's what has sort of led me to start putting myself out there in a lot of fun new ways.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of projects. You're obviously the Grey Rooms right now, that's fixing to wrap up.
Yeah.
The first season.
Jason Wilson had this idea, and Brian and I have sort of helped him bring it to life, and yeah, it went from a dream to reality, and I think that's what I find so wonderful about podcasts, is that with a laptop and a microphone and a dream, people can tell these stories, create these things, and put them out into the world for thousands of people to consume. And 15 years ago, this didn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is what's awesome. I love podcasts. It's like I just like to talk to people.
I like people. I think in my I think I like to too. I like to in this format. I think I was going to say that I like people asking me questions and then letting me prattle on, because that doesn't happen a lot in everyday life. Mm-hmm. But I also enjoy the couple times where I hosted Behind the Door. I also enjoyed that, being in that position too. So I'm not just about me talking about my own points of view. Yeah. I do like to talk to other people. That I'm glad I like to do both and not just have a giant ego. But if you have your partner doesn't ask you big questions because they sort of know all the answers. They know what you're going to say. Yeah. So it's nice when people, and that's not necessarily true of my wife. If she hears this, I love her, and she is my everything. And she continues to surprise me and delight me. But nice. It is sometimes someone asks your opinion on something and you can just go off in a concise and intelligent way.
The unexamined life.
What's that?
That quote about the unexamined life.
Oh, yeah.
I think everybody just likes to, I exist. And you exist, and we exist on a planet. Let's talk.
Exactly. That's very much so. And I'm also in a strange reality right now, because I'm on the road with the tour, the national tour of a stage. I'm sort of breaking this down I usually just say I'm on the tour of Dear Evan Hansen, but I sometimes say to people at the hotel when I'm checking in, and they're like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "I'm in town with the stage production at the such and such center, and it's a what?" And well, it's a play with music, and what's it called? So, but I've I just came out here for a relatively short stint of 3.5 weeks, but I've only got a few more days left, but I am feeling intensely sort of cut off from my regular world. So yeah, talking to people and feeling like a person is very valuable to me. Yeah. I guess for me, it's the requests. Any interview requests are so few and far between that I'm still in the phase where I'm shocked and it's such an unusual thing that I'm like, well, sure. I wonder if I'll ever reach the point where I'm like, not another one. Okay, well, if you pay me.
Yeah, pay me for an appearance. It's like, okay, maybe.
I'll pay you in kisses. Well, I got one last question for you because it's ever since you mentioned it in Behind the Doors, it's been I was like, oh, I wish you talked about that more. But
oh, sure.
You're very passionate. Well, everybody should know that you made your way into video games. You're in like 3 of the biggest video games of all time.
Yeah, and you'd think that one would let me lead to more, and unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to do that.
It's crazy because it's not like you're not background characters or just street civilians or anything. You're actual characters that engage with. Like, you're a boss in BioShock.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean,
what's crazy is when I went in to record the BioShock 2 stuff, they started to say, now, so the game takes place in the city of Rapture, which is underwater. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't have to explain it to me. I know BioShock. I know the story. And I think I might have been one of the few actors who said that to them. And my greatest shame, though, is that as much as I loved being in that game, because to have as someone said, your vocation and your avocation come together. So to be in a video game, and I love video games so intensely, is probably my favorite thing. But my ability to actually sit down and play games has been so whittled down for a number of reasons over the past 10 years that I never played BioShock 2 up into I never got to my stuff. And then GTA 5, I ended up just Googling my character. I actually was so incensed that Rockstar doesn't give the actors free copies of the game.
Me and Liam laughed so hard about that, by the way. We were like, of course they didn't give them a copy. They only make $1 billion. I
was so pissed off that I didn't buy the game for years. And then it turns out I just had to look it up on YouTube, and there it was. And then fast forward another year, and I looked again, and they had unlocked the assets for the modding community, and suddenly, there's videos of my character flying around the city. He was just supposed to be standing in front of the comic store. Anyway, and then I'm like, okay, well, Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm going to buy it. I've got it. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to start playing it. And I played for about an hour or two. But it's hard for me to find the time because I've got work and stuff, and I'm a dad, and so I gave it a try, but then I couldn't help but checking YouTube, and then there it is, and then as soon as I saw it on YouTube, I'm like, I guess I don't have to keep playing. So I'm a game hoarder. I will buy them, I will collect them. But playing them is a problem for me. I think I've been doing the most gaming I've done in a while out here these past couple weeks because I brought my Switch with me.
Nice.
And I loaded it up with a bunch of games before I came here, and it's weird. Do you ever have that moment where you're like, should I play a game or should I just watch something on Netflix?
all the time.
Because you know it's going to be a thing if you decide to play the game.
Right, a game is a thing. You have to lean forward.
Yeah.
It takes concentration. It takes focus, and it takes more focus than just zoning out and watching something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always slightly embarrassed when I'm like, I don't want to work that hard, and it's not even work. It's a game.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Supposed to be having fun.
The Switch is easier for me to pull out and play as opposed to, well, I'd love to play some Overwatch, but no, I gotta. They might probably haven't played in a while. Probably needs an update, and I don't want to play with people. I don't want to play with people I don't know. I don't know how to find that community. Probably, I haven't talked to them in a while. Like it's just sad that then you end up just going to Netflix because you just get tired thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So wait, so before that, so you had these games that you never played. So what was what's your favorite game? What's the game that got you into gaming, and what's the game that you have that you really desperately want to play and you haven't touched?
Oh, that's good. The games in my pile that I desperately want to play. Okay. I want to play Skyrim on the PlayStation VR. So I have a PSVR at home.
Nice.
And Beat Saber on the PlayStation VR is fantastic.
I want to play that so bad.
We're also jealous.
oh, it is so good. So, and it's a little less daunting than Skyrim. Obviously, the idea of Skyrim. I also, I have Skyrim on the Switch. It's a game that size. It's just like, maybe I'll just play like a little snack game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to play Skyrim on the PlayStation VR. I also discovered that games played with other people are so much more fun than playing a game by yourself.
You like your party situation games?
Well, no, like just online with friends. Playing online with friends is so much more fun to me. It's like it feels like sitting around and playing cards, in terms of that social aspect. And so playing alone, once you've really had some experience with playing with friends, playing alone isn't the same.
Oh, no, agreed. Yeah, there's some games I won't even touch and play, solo. I have to be playing them with someone online.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to play, I have such a pile of shame. I just remembered, I think for some reason you just made me think of Prey. Did they give it a 2? Was it Prey 2? Or did they just call it Prey again?
I am not sure.
2 years ago. Anyway, that's on my pile, and I don't know why. I'm never going to play it. I have a copy. It's sitting there. There's so many things on the pile. Everyone keeps... The number of times people have talked about... the one where it's the teens in the cabin in the winter.
Until Dawn?
Everyone talks about Until Dawn. I bought it for $10. I have it. I'm never going to play it. I kind of want to.
It's very fun.
I hear it's fun.
It's a giant interactive movie. It's very fun.
I think I hear, and everyone keeps talking about it years later, and it's I still am like, it's too bad. Like, what is the last AAA game? I did buy the Spider-Man game. I spent a couple nights, and I really enjoyed that. I don't think I'm ever going to get back to it because I'm intimidated that I've lost my ability to swing on webs.
No. Also, it's...
Well, and the fighting mechanic on that was very difficult for me. I would just wail on those buttons and pray for the best. But I love the games. I love one of my favorite podcasts is the Gamers with Jobs conference call. Those are some friends. I actually listened to the podcast before I got to know them, and then I befriended them, and then they also have a website, Gamers with Jobs, where people will write original pieces about their stories and their journey with video games. And the the guys started to ask me. It's not all guys. There's also women. So I should say the team asked me to do some readings. I would then read those pieces, and they would play them on the podcast. So that was a wonderful thing. But yeah, I sort of, I don't play the games, but I listen to the podcast, and it sort of fills that little hole of where the video games live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some other podcasts to promote real fast, guys.
Sure. Oh, no, please. I was actually fixing to ask you. Yes,
yeah.
Lay it on us.
And it's funny. I was trying to think of, I've got my fingers in a couple pies, but I kind of wanted to mention two that are sort of brand spanking new. One of them is called Copperheart.
Yes.
And Michael Riggs is a writer. I don't know if you writer people all know each other. I don't know how this world works. But he's a steampunk author, and he also runs a real play D&D steampunk-based show called the Steamrollers Adventure Podcast. But he has written sort of his Steamrollers Adventure Podcast exists in the same world as some of his novels, and this Copperheart is an audio drama scripted by him that is connected to the worlds he's created, and it's about people in a underground bunker who are living out a nuclear winter, but there are not only the dynamics between the people in the bunker, but there's also some science mysteries going on, and some strange mysteries. I play an astronaut who comes back to Earth and is rescued by the people in the bunker, and we discover that the world that I remember is not the same as the world they remember. So there's really cool stuff, and they're brand new. And the other one is called Among the Stars and Bones, which is about, and I want to make sure I say the name right because it's such a great word. Is it xenoarchaeologists? Xenoarchaeologists in space. Is that what? So the alien. That's what that xenoarchaeology is alien archaeology. That's what that means, right? Is that the right definition?
I think.
Yeah, that's
as far as I know.
So these are scientists who go to. I mean, we're only one episode in, but they have landed on another planet, and they are excavating the ancient abandoned civilization of this alien race and discovering the mysteries therein. And so it's brand new as well. And so those are two. I feel like a lot of the other shows I'm involved with are either they aren't out yet or they're doing just fine and they don't need the extra shout out, at least not right now. So I'm just going to save it for those guys. Among the Stars and Bones and Copperheart.
Yeah, those sound awesome. Definitely check those out.
I think they're pretty cool.
So we'll have all the links to all the projects that you're currently attached to and your website, GrahamRowat.com.
Yep, and the Twitter is probably where I am the most.
Yes, at Graham NY.
Yeah, Graham NY, yeah.
You can follow Graham there. What else? I think that is it.
Well, the truth is we could probably nerd out about
of course,
1,000 different things.
I have we could do a whole other episode if you would talk about Darkman II. I have so many questions.
I actually thought that's what you were bringing up when you started talking about, whispering and on someone's neck, and then you're not there. I was just like, this sounds familiar.
That was my very first. That was my very first on-screen acting gig ever, and I was still in theater school. But the woman who taught our on-screen camera class was a working casting director and had called me in, and I think they needed to cast sort of a young TV producer, sort of in the vein of, at the time, the young producer from Murphy Brown, and all I remember was that I was so intent on. I walked into this editing. I sort of storm into this editing suite to give the lead actress, who was Kim Delaney, Dana Delaney's sister.
Yes.
I go in and I put my hands down on the chair and I sort of like, what are you doing? Or we have this scene, and all I know is that I was so paranoid about moving my hands from the chair for the sake of continuity that I instantly became stuck, because I'm like, if I move my hands at all, I can't move my hands. And I just remember that was the weirdest thing to be to be paranoid about. And then I remember doing a scene on Elementary and watching this actor who I was a prosecutor, and he was one of the regular actors on the series, and he was on the stand, and I watched him talking to me, and he would set his line, and he sort of shifted his weight and adjusted his coat, and then he continued, and then every subsequent take he would do the same tug of his jacket and shift his weight, and I was like, how do you get so comfortable? I sort of envious that he was so comfortable in what he was doing that he was able to add that extra layer and not have his brain explode. Because I think that's what it really means to be comfortable on camera, is because you can start adding, like, you're comfortable going, I'm just going to I'm going to pick my teeth here, or no, maybe that's a little bold, but things that are not on the page, and that may not necessarily enhance the story you're telling, but will sort of make the world seem more real. So that's
bring life to the character.
Yeah,
it's just like
telegraphs a little something about that character that they've thought of that maybe the writer hasn't, which is always neat. Funny enough, that clip is on your website too.
It is.
So people can actually watch that one.
It is. You can. It's truly. I want to get on a show I want to be able to do a show and feel comfortable enough on a show for a long enough period of time that I can be like, oh, you know what else I'm going to do right here? I'm going to scratch my cheek.
Yeah.
and then I'm going to scratch it every time I say that line, and it's going to be perfect.
Graham, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Graham, that cheek scratch isn't in the script.
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to be Madam Secretary. I'm hoping they announce that soon.
Yeah, I mean, then the dream will stay alive.
Yeah, but whatever it is, I know we're always going to keep seeing you somewhere. You keep popping up everywhere, and you never say anything too. I've noticed you always keep these secrets, and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm in this week. When you could have mentioned it forever ago, but you never do.
It's strange because, for example, the next SCP archives. I don't know if you're familiar with the new podcast that's being done by John Grills and Jeb Obadiah. I'm sure. I assume everybody has at least heard of the SCP Archives website. Are you guys familiar with that?
It sounds familiar.
But yeah.
So yeah, a lot of horror people seem to know this, and I was new to it. But apparently, it is basically an online repository of a lot of horror. Sort of like it's like the X-Files for horrible creatures and myths, and it is treated somewhat seriously. And recently, Jebediah. Nope, I'm not going to get it right. Shoot, the gentleman behind Lake Clarity, and anyway, and John Grills and Bloody Disgusting have all come together to make a podcast, and I just assumed everybody might have heard of it already, so I didn't even say anything about it. But I am on their episode, which comes out tomorrow, and I'm waiting for. There's another podcast that is really kind of special called The Van, and you can find them at The Van Radio. It's about basically it's kids in a van, but the kids have powers, and they are. They sort of have someone who drives the van who's kind of their surrogate mother who kind of treats them badly. And it's a really great approach to a superhero myth or mythology. And my character debuts on the van tonight or tomorrow. So, but the point being is that, a lot of these projects you can't really talk about until they're out, and then when they're out, maybe you do a little retweet of. Sometimes all I really do is do a retweet. It's hard to blow your own horn. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So somehow I just want someday someone will randomly discover that I have infested all these podcasts, and they will say, "Wait a minute, this man must be stopped."
It's going to be the new Kevin Bacon game. Instead of 5 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon, it's going to be Graham Rowat.
Yep. Let me be the bacon.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Give me the bacon.
There's the title of the episode. Graham Bacon.
No, you joke. That's what it's going to be called now. Can't stop me.
Some combination of my name and bacon.
Graham Daddy Bacon.
Daddy Bacon.
Baconator Graham Rowat.
Bacon, lettuce, no. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
Graham, thank you so much.
Yeah. It was fun.
Pleasure being on. Thank you, guys.
Yes, enjoy your spring break with the fam.
I will. I have 4 more nights. I have 4 nights here in Orlando, and then I get to catch up with them down in Bonita Springs. But I catch up on my son's birthday, so that's going to be great.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Anyway, too much more information than you needed to know. But thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for thank you for joining us, and you can see all of the current projects in the show notes, and hey, join our conversation on our Discord. And if you like this podcast, check us out. We got a Patreon. And until next time, I've been Dustin.
I have been Bo.
I have been Graham.
Have a good one.
Later, guys.
Boop.